guys in the dark. I used to tend at the hole-in-the-wall bar outside of Austin. It was a big biker scene. The owner couldn't get girls to work there on account of the level of attention that they would get from these guys, so she had hired me. I worked there for about 2 months. The motorcycle club that used it as a headquarters was also there. They usually kept the peace, but 2 instances will always be in my mind. The band happens to be playing the usual rock and roll cover band stuff. No stage in this place, so they're just set up in a corner somewhere. A couple of drunk girls were really getting into the music and kept approaching the band, singing into the microphones, playing air guitar or drums along with the band members. Finally, one of the girls walks up to the lead singer, grabs the mic in one hand and his junk in the other, and starts singing along with the song. This did not sit very well with the lead singer's wife, who jumped to this girl, hit her with a beer bottle, and then literally tried to strangle her. The music stops. Bikers jump into action to stop it. Apparently it's not the first time this has happened, and the wife has had enough of it. No major injuries, no cops, but definitely a wild cat fight. The owner was this big biker broad out of California, tough as nails. She used to get into fights with her old man all the time. They'd get drunk and yell at each other, threaten each other with divorce, all that kind of stuff. One Saturday night, it got bad. They got twisted up and wound up in the back kitchen of the bar. I can hear them yelling at each other. Then suddenly it stops, and I hear large crashing sounds. Then the old man comes out, asks me for a beer, and then sits down. I lean back into the kitchen, and the owner is sitting down on the floor, unconscious. He had knocked her out. I grabbed a couple of other guys to go check on her. She comes to and goes apeshit, then comes flying off out of the kitchen, grabbed him by his beard, and then started punching him in the face. They grapple for a little while before we break it up. I'm pushing the old man back. He looks me dead in the eye and says, "Don't make me go to my hip." I didn't really understand what that meant, till one of the other club members told me that meant he was going to pull a knife on me. He went outside, and she happened to follow him. They wrestled some more, and then she threw him off the patio, and he happened to break his arm. The next day, the old man's daughter shows up, and went at it with the owner. And then the owner breaks her nose. It's just another shit show in hillbilly land. I was in the process of closing up the bar. It was Thursday, so it was basically just me and the cooks at 11 p.m. at night. This blonde lady in her mid-30s walks in with a strut, and then orders a Long Island iced tea. She has a couple, and then out of the blue tells me her little girl was raped by her boyfriend, and that he happens to be in jail now, but she still loves him, and she goes on like this for quite a while. Now at this point, I can tell that she had a few before arriving at the bar, and is getting kinda gushy, flirting with the line cook and his pepper pants and such. I asked if she was driving, and she said that she was just walking. I offered to get a cab. She said that she lived close by and would be fine. I figured that if she's on foot, she can't get into too much trouble. I was wrong. I got a call the very next day from the police, saying that she was found in the middle of the street about 4 blocks away, and she had been run over. My manager was a dick about it, and he immediately started grilling me about how many drinks I had served her. I could have sworn that it was only 2, plus the super watered-down one that I had given her at the end of the night. I felt terrible until I was questioned by the police. They told me that they expected that she laid down in the street on purpose. I decided to work breakfast after that. I'm not a bartender, but I was saved by one once. My freshman year of college. We used to go to this dive bar because they overlooked our bad fake IDs. My school was in an interesting area. The school itself wasn't a safe area, but if walked across a few blocks, you'd be in a real shitty part of town. Well, one Thursday, my buddies and I are out drinking. I get a pitcher for everybody, and when I get back to our table, there's an elderly black guy just sitting there. That's not unheard of for this bar. So I sit down and start pouring some beers. The guy is mean mugging the shit out of me, and only me. So I ask him what's up, and introduce myself. He tells me that he doesn't want to know my name, because I'm probably just a rat. I decided at this point in time that I didn't really want to associate with someone who worries about who is and who isn't a rat. A couple of pitchers later, I'm feeling pretty good. The dude is standing right behind me. I try to apologize for before. He flips his shit, telling me that he's going to fuck me up. He lifts up his shirt and shows me his gun. I happen to only be 150-pound white, and I grew up in a nice suburb. So I did the most logical thing that I could think of. I tattled like a 7-year-old to the bartender. Bartender asks him to leave. The guy flashes his gun at the bartender. The bartender calls the police. The guy flashes his gun right at the police. They obviously arrested him. And what do they find on his person? A shit ton of heroin. I served this older lady and her girlfriend for a few hours. They were apparently regulars. I had just started, so I didn't know. One of them was drinking vodka like it was water. All I knew was that her name was Patricia, and she happened to be hilarious. The drunker that she got, the funnier she was. To make a long story short, around 1:30 a.m., she leaned over the bar like she wanted to tell me a secret. I went over, and she acts like she's going to whisper in my ear, and then she screams, "I'm peeing right now!" I got the deer in the headlights look, looked over the bar, and realized that she had been peeing on her stool all night long. I decided to call a cab for her and take the stool outside to hose it down later. So I'm standing outside waiting for the cab as I'm driving the stool right outside. The cab drives up, looks at her, and the driver says, "Nope, there's no way. Not again. She's not getting in my cab." When I asked him why, he said, "Potty Patty is banned from all the cabs in town. Good luck finding her a ride." And then he speeds off. So apparently this was a regular occurrence, and everybody knew it. No one bothered to tell me at all. I had to drive her home myself. That was a big mistake. You can only imagine what she did in my passenger seat. It was a busy Friday, and a guy was going around making clumsy passes at every woman in the bar. Me and a bouncer walks up to him and inform him that it's time to leave. He agrees and walks outside of the bar. We ask him if he needed a cab. He tells us no, and then walks across the street to the 7-Eleven. Fast forward about 20 minutes. I hear a loud crash, look out the front door, and the dude happened to punch through the window. The window didn't shatter. He punched a nice round hole through it, and had his arm up to the shoulder in the hole. He pulled his arm out, and in this process he cut all of his tendons and arteries in his armpit. Thank God one of the bouncers was in school to be a paramedic. Tied the arm off, called him an ambulance, and then took him away. He came back a couple of months later, informed us that he had lost the use of his arm, and may never regain any functionality of it. He thanked the bouncer, and then wrote a check for the window. That's the worst thing that I've seen working in the industry. I'm not a bartender, but my ex-husband was. Having been to his bar many times, I had developed a bit of a knowledge of the regulars. The bar was nothing more than an old hole-in-the-wall frequented by hookers, drug heads, and old-time railroad workers. One old man in particular was very sweet. He was quiet, polite, and usually he just drank beer. Sometimes he would partake a rum and a Coke. Well, his birthday had come up. We're talking his 76th birthday, and everyone decided that they were going to throw a giant bash to celebrate this much-loved regular man. He was everyone's granddad in a sense there. So it gets rolling. Drinks are being drank, darts and pool are being played, music is streaming from the jukebox, and he's getting a lap dance. Old man is grinning ear to ear. So I happen to be at the bar, kind of helping out when needed. Usually meant grabbing cases of beer from the cooler and wiping down some tables. I look over to Mikey, and he's sitting in the special leather chair we set for the party just for him, and he's rolling his eyes. And he's getting slack-jawed. I motion to my ex-husband, and I walk over to Mikey, tap him on the shoulder, pulled the drink from his hand. Suddenly, Miss Titty Tassels comes over and begins to grind up the old man. "Hey, cutie, I'll wake him up." "Oh my God," she screams, and then she jumps off of him. Her ass is covered in piss. Suddenly a smell hits me. Old man peed and crapped his pants in the leather recliner. It happened to be everywhere, streaming down the sides and right under the cushion. I guess he came to when the other 3 regulars who knew him started to help him out of the chair and back to his house, because all he was doing the whole way down the stairs was apologizing to them. And that's the moment that I remembered I had dishes to wash back at home. I've been a bartender for about 10 years now. I usually work at dive bars, but I've had my stints at fine dining establishments. I think the absolute worst thing that I've ever had was the inopportune chance of coming across what happened at downtown Nashville at an unnamed bar on Broadway. I had just gone downstairs to change out a keg since the barback was upstairs opening a standalone beer cooler for a beer goddess. As I'm coming up the stairs, a body flies right through the door that I'm about to open into the wall to my right. It's a small landing at the top of the steps with the door to the left. The man was just rocketed through the door. He happened to be 6'7", about 250-pound bouncer named Jared. He stands back up, rushes back out the door. While I was gone, this Hungarian monster of a man had knocked out 4 patrons, 1 bouncer, and was holding his own against 6 others. I've seen a lot of bar fights in my time, but this man would not go down. Eventually the cops happened to show up, but this man was unarmed, took on tasers, threw a cop through a window, took a metal baseball bat to the ribs, and the law enforcement grade mace to the face. Eventually he did go down, but not before stripping all of his clothing off, doing a body drop on the top of the police cruiser, and masturbating against a female officer. Turns out that he was on speed, PCP, and bath salts. His wound consisted of 9 broken ribs, fractured orbital, leg broken in 4 places, and his hands were broken in multiple places. He put the original bouncer that I mentioned in the hospital, and 2 cops were hospitalized as well.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.